Hey everybody, Bill Corbett here with Port City Living. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you who don't know me, I am a real estate agent. I serve the Greater Wilmington, North Carolina area. I love what I do, and I love bringing videos like this to you to help you see what life is like in this part of North Carolina. And today we're taking a little field trip. Now, before I get into the field trip part, for those of you who don't know, or maybe you do and you haven't listened yet, I have a new podcast. It's called Port City Living. Me and my good friend Brad Brown sit around and talk about what it's like to live in this part of North Carolina. And we do a lot of laughing and a lot of fun facts for you. And about a week and a half ago, we decided let's take a little trek down to Southport, North Carolina, which is in Brunswick County. And let's get familiar with it again because it had been a while since both of us had been down. So I thought, well, I'll bring you the video version today. So that's what we're talking about. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Southport, it is in Brunswick County. It's about a 45-minute drive from Wilmington. Or if you want to take the ferry over, you can take a little drive down to Fort Fisher, which is at the very southern tip of New Hanover. Jump on the ferry and it takes you right over into Southport. It's about a 35-minute ferry ride. Now, we attempted to do that the other day, but when we woke up, we didn't realize how foggy it was outside, and it didn't dawn on either one of us to call and see if the ferry was in operation. And when we get all the way down there, we find out that it is not in operation. It was closed. So we were a little bummed, but we got in the car and drove all the way back around. We basically did a big circle and went down to Southport, and we had a blast. So this little video is about our trek for the day. We pull into Howe Street, which is the main drive that takes you right into Southport, and we park. A little freaked out because there was no parking meter and I wasn't used to that. And I had forgotten in Southport, you don't have to pay to park, which is really weird because you have to pay to park everywhere else. And I was afraid my car wasn't going to be there when I got back, but fortunately it was. So not a problem there. If you take Howe Street all the way down to the very end, it takes you to the foot of the street, which is where the water is. We noticed that it was still very foggy down there. So we thought, well, let's just meander around downtown and walk around a little bit, get familiar with the area again, and then we'll go down there later. And the first store that I saw was the Southport Market. Now, it's a newer building in downtown, and I thought, well, this looks kind of cool. So we went in, and it is sort of a novelty store. I don't like to use the term tourist trap, but that's kind of the way it is. But I will say it's a very amped up version, and I was very impressed with this place. They had some really cool products in there for sale. I mean, they had the typical stuff like your magnets and your stickers and your Southport shot glasses and things like that. But they had some really awesome like crockware. If you're into pottery, they had some great dish towels for the kitchen. Some really unique stuff that I had never seen before. And so I was like, I'm going to keep this place on my radar. I suggest you do the same thing. If you're down in Southport, go check out this market. They also have a section in the back for t-shirts and sweatshirts and hats and things like that. There was an ice cream area for dipped ice cream, and then a candy section. Just a great little store. So I did buy a t-shirt actually, and here is my my t-shirt. That's a long sleeve, and that's the back of it. I thought the back was really cool. I love a good sunset. So that is my Southport, North Carolina t-shirt, and you can see on the back that Southport was established in 1792. So she is an old girl, but she's still a lot of fun. We walked over next to Ocean Outfitters, which is a store that Brad loves, and it's another sort of store where you get things like this, hats, flip-flops, and that type of thing. Right next door was a really charming Episcopal church that was built in 1843. We got to tour that. That was quite beautiful, and they gave us some history behind that church. And then we decided to meander down toward the waterfront anyway, even though the fog was still there. And what I thought was so amazing about the waterfront, and I had forgotten about this, is they have all these swings set up all across there on the Battery, just looking out at the water. And you can just sit there and just be, and you can be quiet, and it's just amazing. They also have a fishing pier down there, which was free to go on, because for those of you who know the piers up in Wilmington at the beaches and stuff, they're not free to go on. So, or most of them aren't free to go on. But so we also noticed too that life seemed to slow down just a little bit while we were down there. We were walking around and we saw some of the people hanging out on the Battery, and we saw a couple of ladies sitting on a park bench, and an older gentleman walked by and tipped his hat and was talking to them. And We saw the mailman. Everybody knew him by his first name. And we were just like, wow, this is like we're in a movie or something. This is really cool. So if you want that laid back Southern charm, that Southern small town feel, then Southport is definitely got it. I'm telling you, they got it. We started to get a little hungry, so we thought we'd walk on down the waterfront a little bit more. Now, I will tell you that in the wintertime, a lot of the restaurants are going to be closed. The Provision Company is a very famous restaurant in Southport. That unfortunately was closed. But the one other one that is famous was definitely open. It's called the Fishy Fishy, and we went there and we got some really good food. I had some pill and eat shrimp. Brad had some shrimp tacos, and it was delicious, and the view was amazing, and the sun started coming out. It started getting warm, and so after we finished eating, we decided we would trek on down around a little bit and go into the neighborhoods. And when we got to the first part of the neighborhood, I noticed that we were at a place that a very famous scene was shot in the movie Safe Haven. This particular place you see here is where the little store was that Josh Duhamel owned and ran, and then across the street was the famous little house that he lived in. So I thought that was pretty cool. For those of you who also may know this, a little movie fun fact is that Southport was the set for I Know What You Did Last Summer. Most of it was filmed there. Some of it was not. Some of it was actually filmed in Burgaw, my hometown. But the majority of it was filmed in Southport. And for those of you who may remember the scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar was in the parade, I happened to be down there that day. I was not an extra in the movie, but I happened to be in Southport, and I watched them film that particular scene. So I thought that was really pretty cool. So that's a nice fun fact about Southport. We walked in more into the neighborhoods, and you can see here the amazing homes, the architecture, the old style homes, the incredible oak trees, and it just gives you that amazing southern feel. Now, not all of the homes in downtown Southport are old. Some of them are newer. This particular one here that you see was built not too long ago and recently sold for $1.7 million. It's a gorgeous home, about 2.5 blocks or so from the water. Real estate in Southport can be a little pricey, but if you find the right thing and find the right deal, especially on the outskirts and edges of town, then you can find things that are a little bit more reasonable. We were getting tired of walking, and we thought, well, we'll just kind of meander our way back to the car. And as we were on our way back, I noticed this amazing store, the Christmas store. And I was like, Brad, we got to go in. And Brad was like, no, I don't want to go in. I don't want to see Christmas stuff. We've already passed all that. And I'm like, nope, we're going in. So I managed to coerce him in. We went inside, and it was so amazing and so special. And not only do they have Christmas decorations, but they have Valentine's stuff, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Valentine's, whatever you can think of. And the prices were actually really good. So if you're looking for some Christmas decorations, you can go down and check out the Christmas store. And I think it's open pretty much all year long. And for those of you who love candy, especially nostalgic candy, and maybe people my age or older may remember this kind of stuff, but in the back they had a candy section. And do you remember the wax bottles with the liquid in it, and pouches of bubble gum that was supposed to be like chewing tobacco, and the candy cigarettes and all of that kind of stuff? They had every bit of that stuff back there. So we were just like in hog heaven. We thought this was really cool. And saltwater taffy, tons of it in every flavor you can think of. I got a handful of different assortment, and my favorite one was the chili mango. Oh my God, it was so good. I got a fireball version, and Brad got a hold of that in the car on the way home and like to choke to death because he wasn't expecting all that cinnamon. So one more major thing that I need to mention about Southport is the North Carolina July 4th Festival, which Southport hosts every year. If you haven't heard about it, then where have you been? This festival draws like 40 to 50,000 people a year. So it's pretty significant. I went down years ago to the parade. It was pretty fantastic, and I can only imagine what it's like now. So if you find yourself in the area and want to celebrate 4th of July, then make Southport your destiny. So before we got ready to leave, we decided let's trek back one more time down to the Battery, and let's look at the water since the fog has lifted, and let's get some more footage of that. And so this is what it looks like with all the fog gone. It's simply stunning. So when we made our way back to the car, we were like, oh, well, since the fog is gone, why don't we try to take the ferry back? And let's do that. And let's document and get some footage of that. So we got in the car and we drove down the street and drove up to the little gate thing. And the little lady was there. And we're like, we're here to ride the ferry. We're all excited about it. And she said, not today, you're not. Absolutely not. It's still not running. So unfortunately, you're going to have to come back another time. So we were so disappointed, but we will ride that ferry one day. We'll document it. And if we don't document it first, then you ride it and tell me your experience, because I think it's quite amazing that we have this this novelty thing to be able to ride the ferry back and forth from Southport to Fort Fisher. So I hope you've enjoyed this information. To sum it up, Southport is small, quaint, southern, amazing architecture, amazing food, amazing people. If you're looking for a day trip, if you're looking for a weekend getaway, or if you're thinking about maybe moving to Southport, hit me up. I can help you. So I'm Bill Corbett with Port City Living. Thank you so much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Be kind to one another. It's not that complicated. And remember, if someone doesn't have a smile,